Warning, this video may contain spoilers for late parts in the game. If you plan on playing this at some point, turn back now. You have been warned. I've played this game many times, including recently, and I know I'll end up playing a good couple more times. I think just coincidentally that I play this game every 2 years since it first came out, and it's probably my second favorite Legend of Zelda game ever. And don't worry, that list will be coming out at some point. I think the main thing that drew me to this game, other than being a big fan of Legend of Zelda series at that point, was the art style, which reminded me of Wind Waker, which was at the time my favorite Zelda game ever. Now let's get into the video. Alright, the basics of this game are super simple, as being on the Game Boy doesn't give a lot of room for wild controls or insane gameplay, at least to me. It fits this game a lot though, which is a good thing. First of all, every item gets equipped to your choice of either the A or B button. You grab and pull blocks by holding the R button. Pressing select allows you to talk to your cat, Ezlo, which I'll talk more about in the story section, who will keep you up to date on what you're supposed to be doing. Those are pretty much all you need to know control-wise. Other basic things you do in this game involve a thing called a kinstone. Some people in the town will have a little bubble over their head showing the specific kinstone that they have, which you in turn need to find the other half, pressing L to initiate a fusion of the kinstones that leads to a multitude of different things happening. That's pretty much all there is to the game, so let's continue to the story. The story begins with Link being awoken by Zelda, who had come to his home in which he lives with his grandfather, the smith, named Smith. She insists that Link accompany her to the Picori festival being held in Hyrule Town. Before they leave, Smith asked Link to deliver the Smith's sword, which will be given to the winner of the sword fighting tournament. After some shenanigans in Hyrule Town, Zelda winning Link a shield, they head off to see the end of the sword fighting tournament. During this, a mysterious boy in purple robes decidedly wins the tournament, being gifted with a chance to touch the Picori blade. He scoffs at this, destroying the sword and opening essentially Pandora's box, as many monsters escape from the box that the Picori blade had been guarding. The boy gets madder as the thing he was looking for is not in the box, and then turns Princess Zelda to stone, knocking out Link in the process, as he had tried to protect Zelda with the shield that she had won for him. Link wakes up later and is told by the King of Hyrule that the only way to save Zelda is to forge the Picori sword back to its old greatness, needing to locate the Minish, who are believed to be an old legend. Only the Minish truly know how to forge a true Picori sword. Link sets off, his grandfather gifting him the blade that was supposed to be given to the winner of the tournament, to the Minish Woods. As he goes further into the forest, he finds a mysterious creature being attacked by some Octoroks. Link saves the creature, who reveals himself to be Ezlo. Link heads further on as Ezlo has trouble keeping up, eventually just jumping on Link's head, becoming essentially a hat. They happen to stumble upon a stump that Ezlo tells Link is actually a portal to the Minish, allowing the person who uses it to become small enough to see the Minish. Link understands what this means as he literally shrinks down, entering the Minish town and actually encountering one of the Minish. Not being able to understand them, Link looks around before he finds a jabbernut that allows Link to understand and be able to speak the language of the Minish, learning that the only way to forge the sword is to collect the 4 elements, one being located in the Deepwood Shrine protected by the Forest Picori. Link ventures forth into the dungeon, becoming aware that the monsters that have been released have invaded these once protected shrines as he defeats a giant Choo-Choo and acquires the Earth element. The Picori then tell Link only the Mountain Minish have the ability to forge the Picori blade and send Link to Mount Creno. Upon finally reaching the mountain peak, Link meets the metal smith, Malari, a mountain Picori who tells Link that he can make the blade usable if he's given some time, telling you to enter the Cave of Flames, revealing the next piece that Link needs, the fire element, would be inside. Link swiftly makes his way through the dungeon, getting the Cane of Paki along the way. He makes quick work of the boss, Gleerock, obtaining the fire element, and coming back to the Mountain Minish, receiving the Picori blade from Malari. He tells Link that in order to actually forge the weapon, that he would need to find the Elemental Sanctuary, which the entrance was located somewhere in Hyrule Castle. He locates the entrance in the palace courtyard. Entering the room, he finds a pedestal, putting the Picori blade into, and fusing the blade with the earth and fire elements, turning it into the white sword. You then hear that the next shrine will be located somewhere in the sky, which you go investigating for any clues at all. Eventually you reach the Caster Wilds that you explore from head to toe. You end up traveling to the Fortress of Winds that after defeating the boss, Mazal, yields no element, leading Link back to square one. He goes further through a back area, finding the Ocarina of Wind, and a plaque mentioning that the Wind Tribe moved to a location above the clouds, which would be the new home of the Wind Element. He makes his way around the world looking for any clues on where the Wind Tribe had gone, and this somehow leads Link to stumbling upon the Temple of Droplets in Lake Hylia. He makes his way through, obtaining the Flame Lantern, fighting the Red Octorok, and snagging the Water Element. After some more searching, he locates the Royal Valley, a graveyard to dead Hylians. One in particular is in the Royal Court, finding the ghost of a long-dead Hylian king, who informs you of the way to reach the Wind Tribe, which is by literally ascending through the clouds. He gives Link a golden kinstone and tells Link to proceed through the stone door at Vale Wall, using his piece of the kinstone to open the door. He makes his way through the door and ascends to the mountain peak, being higher than that of Mount Brennel. At the top of the mountain is Vale Springs, in which there is a tornado that brings Link to the entrance of the cloud tops. He eventually reaches a house in the sky, through which leads to the Palace of Winds. He flies his way through the dungeon with the Rocks Cape helping him defeat the Gyre Bear, finally receiving the Wind Element. Link races back to the Elemental Sanctuary to complete the transformation of the White Sword into the Four Sword. As the duo leave the sanctuary, they realize that Hyrule Castle is no more, as Vaati had changed it with his magic. Link goes through, saving the castle staff as he makes his way finally to Vaati, revealing his plan to steal the Light Force out of Zelda. But upon Link's early arrival, Vaati didn't have enough time to fully steal the light from her. Vaati transforms a couple times before he is defeated by Link's courage, restoring Zelda and Ezlo. Magic Cap falls off Vaati. Magic Cap was a hat made by Ezlo to grant the wishes of whoever wears it. His apprentice got a hold of it, wishing for power, which the hat grants him, driving the apprentice mad with power, becoming the evil wizard Vaati. Ezlo grabs the hat and puts it on Zelda, telling her to use the cap's power to last the light force that was left inside her. She wished for all the destruction that the wizard had done to disappear, restoring Hyrule in the process, but destroying the cap. The door to the sanctuary, otherwise known as the Minish door, starts to close. Ezlo gives his farewell as the door to the Minish realm closes for another 100 years. The first thing that hit me when I saw this game as a child was how much I liked the style of the game. While I didn't really like most SNES looking games back when I was a kid, I grew to appreciate them much more than I had before playing this, and am now in love with many pixel-styled games. I also love the Kinstone edition, as they are essentially the secondary mission of the game, unlocking things, letting you go to new areas, and otherwise giving you access to helpful items. The game is really responsive as well. I even had a broken R button when I played it a couple years ago. There's also a good couple of interesting enemies and bosses, so be prepared for my top 5 bosses list. The final boss is an absolute pain in the ass, but that makes the game really satisfying to beat him. That is pretty much my only problem with this entire game, and it's very minuscule. My only other gripe would be the shell gambling ring to get figurines, which is the only way to get, likely, your last piece of heart. An extremely minor bit is the shield and sword being an item instead of just always being equipped, but that can be excused by a low button vacancy on the Game Boy, as every button is being used for something useful in the game. The entire Kinstone system and the shell gambling is pretty much all the extra stuff there is in this game. I guess I could add on finding all the heart pieces as well. The Kinstone system, as I said, being essentially the secondary missions, as you have to find the right Kinstone to fuse, and then finally to get whatever thing you unlocked or chest you made appear. The gambling for figurines adds the longest, and is the only part of this game that I never 100% completed before. I think you might know what I'm gonna say for this one. Please play this game. The story isn't crazy groundbreaking or anything, but it was interesting enough to pull me all the way through, with the cartoonish style helping immensely. I'm gonna change my schedule around a bit so I can try and do my top 5, maybe even top 10 Legend of Zelda games here soon. So look forward to that. Thanks for watching, and see you next video.